Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday to me. Happy birthday, dear me. Happy birthday to me. I'm 40,
I'm 40.
I'm 40, bro.
It was Tasi's birthday.
It was my birthday. For you out there listening and watching, it was my birthday yesterday. I turned 40.
Yeah.
I think it's less about the feeling of 40 and more about the feeling of leaving my 30s.
Yeah.
Which was an incredible decade of growth, love, and acknowledging self-care as a part of life. Yeah. And I think, the media has something to do with that, of course, but I'm glad it happened because I don't think I would have made 40 had I not done some self-care. And that doesn't mean exercise necessarily. It meant like taking care of the things that kept me sane and happy, especially after 2020, right?
Yeah.
By the way, go ahead.
No, you first.
No, I'm
birthday boy.
Well, my name is Tasi Alabastro. You can find me at Tasi Alabastro on social media.
I'm Davied Morales, or Active Poet, all over social media. And this is
Part-Time Job, a podcast for working and aspiring artists by us working artists who also have aspirations for many things. And this episode, coincidentally, is about
self-care, self-sabotage, and self-love.
I don't know.
I don't know why
I keep wanting. I think because we sang that song together.
Oh yeah.
I just want to speak the same thing
together
every time. So the title of this episode, I just want to acknowledge it, is "Getting Out of Your Own Way."
Yeah,
which is a huge deal, and something that in my 20s I didn't know I was doing. I was getting in my own way. And that's hard especially when you don't know what your own way is. Yeah. So you end up like crab walking in your career. You end up doubling back. You don't feel like you're having any type of progress, meaningful progress. I want to just make a, point about that.
Yeah, or making the progress you want to make. Not that you think you should make, but that you want to make. You know? But you mentioned the media, and it made me think of one of my favorite. I don't know if you heard my stomach, but
I thought that was an airplane. It's a Boeing 777 going to your tummy right now.
It's like Osmosis Jones. That's what it looks like.
Go watch that, kids.
Yeah, go watch it if you guys haven't seen it, or Magic School Bus. Anyways, you talked about the media, and we were talking about self-love, self-care, and it being your birthday. I thought of Aziz saying treat yourself. So how did you treat yourself on your birthday, Tasi?
So it was a little bit of a tease.
What happened?
So I'm a huge Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan.
Are you?
I am, yeah. So for those of you who are listening and not watching, get on our YouTube. But if you're not, I picked up the Last Ronin, which is the by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, and it's basically the telling. Thank you for bringing it to my side. It's basically the idea that of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that are left, there's only one brother left.
Dun dun dun.
Of the four, and so you kind of I haven't jumped into it yet. I know the basic premise of it, and I'm excited to do that. That's on the cheap side.
Yeah. What was the big side that you told me that you don't want to share with everyone?
I'm smiling. I'm both smiling ear to ear about the purchase, but also cringing because of how expensive it was. And I bought 3 brand new Sony lenses for my camera.
Sheesh.
So if you see me in the street and I'm crying,
they're happy tears.
There's happy tears, but also, I'm trying to get out of my own way. And, I think we talked about this on a different episode. Money is not really a motivating factor for me.
No.
In that, I don't get up and think about money, right? Money, as I like to think of it, is on the way. So my relationship has changed with money in that I'm not like, oh my God, I'm poor or I'm broke or whatever that my mentality is. It's more that money is coming and I'm going to use it in a way that makes me feel creative, that makes me feel fulfilled, and going to try not to stress about oh my God, I got to pay my rent this month or whatever. Yeah. Obviously, as an adult and with responsibilities, I'm making sure that does happen. But also I'm like, what can I not to get overly wordy about it, but like, yeah, I bought 3 lenses and I plan to use each one for different situations. So I bought I'm going to get in some little bit of detail here because I'm going to nerd out. I bought first of all, on the business side of things, because there's always that part too. That's like, these lenses better pay dividends in some way.
Yeah. Or you pay them off through workshops or through gigs. Obviously.
Yes, absolutely. And you know what? I respect if you're not in that world, you happen to stumble on this podcast for whatever reason. Obviously, I want to acknowledge that some people buy things tangentially from whatever their aspirations are and have no plans to capitalize on it in any way.
Which is okay.
Yeah. When I say capitalize, use it to gain monetary or like put it on social media, whatever.
Right.
I acknowledge that. But for me, I bought a 40 millimeter lens because I have a full frame camera, which basically means it's a portrait lens. Oh, nice. So if you're wanting to visit my website, you can actually see that I do headshot photography.
Yeah, you do.
Thank you. I like how you said that. Thank you. I read into that. It's like, okay, thanks for the pat on the back.
I got you.
And a lot of these photos that I take are really to support my fellow artists who I'm like, the idea with what I offer is that they're a great in-between headshot session that can also be a very long-lasting portrait of you / headshot that you can continue to use until maybe your agent or your region says you got to have a specific type, right? And that happens.
Right, all the time.
Yeah, so make sure you know what your region wants. But for our general region, for the shots that I take, works perfectly. Then I bought a 28-70, I believe, which is your general all-purpose, like, I want to see a little closer without moving closer. So I can telephoto. That's nice. I've read good reviews. I also have seen pictures taken by that. Shout out Christian Pizzarani, our friend, our mutual friend. And he stands by it. And I'm sort of excited to have that just in my kit as a versatile tool. And finally, something for me, the 35 millimeter lens, which if you don't know anything about photography, the one thing you should know about 35, it replicates kind of what your eyes see on a day. So when the photos you take from that they highlight the subject of the photo, but they also give enough room to highlight the environment. So it's a storytelling lens. And it's why when you watch movies, often they're shot on 35 millimeter.
I did not know this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning.
Yeah, because it replicates what the eyes can see, generally. It most closely approximates your vision. So I'm going to be using it a lot for street photography because one of my goals this year is to really just get out, exercise. And part of that is like, I don't want to just go in for a brisk walk. I want to be able to go out there, maybe take photos, enjoy myself, come back, look at the photos. And like, that's a mental and a physical exercise.
I love that.
Yeah. And if it brings value to someone when I post it on Instagram, whether it's like, oh, I've traveled with you, or that's a part of the world I've never seen, or what lens is that? You know, all of those things are my value proposition that I want to offer through my self-care.
I love that. I love that. I haven't read this book, but I've heard great things about this book called Atomic Habits.
Oh, my castmate, shout out John, sat next to me during rehearsal and all that, was reading that all the time.
There's a portion of that called compounding habits. And it's like, if there's something you want to do, add it on to something you're already doing. So for example, if you have coffee every morning,
okay,
but you also want to read 10 pages, make sure every single time you are making coffee and you sit down, open up a book. And it's a compounding habit that you will start to like, you know, add in your everyday routine. So I love the fact you're like, I want to exercise more, but then I also want to take street photography. So it's like that compounding.
Yeah.
It's like a 2-for-1.
Yeah. How do I get myself out there?
You know?
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Without even reading that, now I actually want to pick up that book. You know, I will say, don't judge a book by its cover. I totally judge that book by its cover.
How dare you? How dare you?
Because it's like shiny, sparkly, sort of golden rose champagne. Yeah. And it feels so kitschy and I don't know what's the word, like very early 2000s style.
I see that.
You know what I mean? Like if you look at not to get off topic, but if you look at book covers these days, it's a very specific kind of like template, palette of a time. It's the same way you look at certain buildings. Yeah. You're like, oh, those buildings were built in the 80s or whatever.
Right.
When I saw that title, Atomic Habits, I'm like, how old is that book? And he's like, oh, it's recent. I'm like, what?
No, it ain't.
But I love that little thing. Compounding. What is it? What did you call it?
Compounding habits. I believe. Once again, I haven't read this. This is just like what I've gotten from friends who have read it / TikTok as well.
Would you say that you have any current habits that intuitively you've already applied that to?
What have I applied that to? Oh, my morning routine.
Yeah. What time do you wake up?
Man, it
What time
varies.
what time do you want to always wake up?
4:44 a.m.
4:44
a.m. Lately, I've been waking up at 6
Mm-hmm.
and going to the gym, which has been helping. Going to 6:30, I meet at the gym. But I'll get into gym stuff because that's like some of my self-care that I do. But my favorite thing when I do wake up is it's hard for me to get out of bed sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially if you have a
Nice bed.
a nice bed and a cute, cuddly partner next to you. You're like,
hi.
oh, hi.
Yeah,
I don't want to get up. But
Right.
I go on my phone first thing, hold up, and I go on Duolingo right away.
Wow.
And it engages my brain enough to wake up and like try and gives me enough energy on the other side to like wake up.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I Duolingo, and that just goes through like a trail of like, oh, I Duolingo, then I journal a little bit, and then I do like this.
Are you into the streaks? Is that a thing for you? Because that's I see people posting about Duolingo and they're like, oh my god, I got to get on my my language streak or whatever it is.
The streaks don't motivate me. I think what does motivate me is just the consistency of doing it. So
personal,
personal. You know, money is a motivator, but I don't get paid on Duolingo. Like I do, like
you can though, right? They have a brand ambassadorship program. The way if you're not watching, you're just listening to. I don't know if you heard Dav's like head whip pan. Look right at me. Yeah, I was looking into it because they were sponsoring live streamers. Like they were partnering up with live streamers. Yeah.
You learn something every day.
Listen, and I'm sure you've got enough, support on your different platforms that you investigate that.
It's not just y'all that are learning from this podcast. It's us too.
Yeah, that's right.
That's great. That is great.
Yeah, I think for those of you out there who are aspiring to grow your social media platform presence, like never underestimate your own value. And always think about your personal value proposition when it comes to like, I want to partner up. I think it's nice to have a little list of like, who would you want to partner up with on your social media? It's not even about like getting paid. Well, I mean it is, but
eventually.
Yeah, but think about like who best identifies with me. Like, what are my values?
And like, where do you want to? Like, who do you want to partner up with?
Aligning,
Yeah, getting free merch from.
Duolingo.
Duolingo.
Every morning.
Yeah. Straight up. That's one of my favorite habits that I've set up for myself. I don't have my ideal morning routine down yet, but it's a work in progress.
Yeah, what are some of your obstacles?
Going to bed too late. Right now, as of late, I have that like late night, early morning routine.
Yeah.
I'm blessed that I had a friend. Me and him been trying to like be gym buddies for a while because that's my main thing. Like I don't mind working out by myself, but having a gym buddy, there's just something that the accountability is so strong. Like today, I slept past my alarm a little bit. Like 6:30, I woke up at like 6:37, and we had plans to meet there at 6:30.
Yeah,
and he
so
texted
you were already
me.
late.
I was already late.
Yeah,
and he texted me, "I'm gonna be there at 6:45." I was like, "All right," So I was like, because I knew he was gonna be there,
right.
I was like, I can't let him down.
Sure.
But if it was just me sleeping through my alarm, I would have been like, I'll go later. You know?
Yeah.
So just that helps me a lot.
It's like Arnold Schwarzenegger and his best friend / gym accountability buddy Franco.
I never heard about this.
Yeah, watch that documentary. Okay. Yeah, he had this best friend from Germany or Austria, much shorter than him, but was like his bestie and like gym buddy. And when he moved to America and found a little bit of success, he brought his friend over. And they helped each other forever, basically.
I love that.
In fact, recently, if you follow him on Instagram, sorry, this is a little off tangent. Okay. He has this other person named Ronnie, I think, helping him as a gym buddy. Mind you, Arnold is like 80 or 70, whatever. And he says Franco would be happy right now because I finally found another, like someone's good. Yeah, it made me tear up because it's like, here's this older man, of course, thinking about like all the people he's lost. And he still thinks about the one person he had really connected with in a very important time of his life, right? So yeah, gym buddies.
Yeah, man.
Would you say that that doesn't have to extend just to the gym.
Of course. I mean, my gym buddy is Caesar. I don't know if you know Caesar. Yeah. And
He's a flexible person.
He's a flex.
He crab walks like no other. I remember. He's a very agile person. Sometimes I've seen him get eaten by a couch too. It was great.
Yeah. Hey, you have. You
Yeah,
definitely
sure.
have. We might have to put that clip in here.
He's a incredibly unassuming person. Like
Yes,
you don't
he
know
is.
that he has all these kind of like
He is so
wackiness.
talented.
Yeah.
And he's very chill, and you wouldn't expect him to be as creative as he is.
Mhm.
But I met him in acting school, and me and him have just vibed. We've made music together, we've acted and stuff together. He's in the book club with me, so he's like, it extends further than just being gym buddies, which I really appreciate. It's not just like he's just my fitness guy. It's like, nah, this is like a lifelong friend that I'm glad we get to share some other time. Just like this. It's like,
right.
exactly like this. You kind of create your family in this life. And I would consider both you and C as my family, So
Yeah, every time I see him, it's just immediate hug.
He also bought me a sandwich this morning.
Caesar?
No, you.
I was like, you got two
bought me-
sandwiches this morning?
No, you
Lucky.
lucky. When am I getting my sandwich? We're not going to say the name of the sandwich place because we're not sponsored yet, but if you want to sponsor us, that sandwich was delicious.
Yeah, it was.
So what other ways?
I could have that every morning, I think.
I think so too. What ways, let's go into one of the topics. What ways do you like to practice self-care?
What ways? Wow. I think going back to the photography thing.
Yeah.
I think sometimes I forget to bring my camera with me because I feel like it's a burden. And I don't think I've ever looked back and regretted bringing my camera with me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And mind you, you don't need an expensive camera in any way, right? If you have your phone and that you're happy with that, like the best camera, this is a quote I read somewhere, the best camera is the one that you have on you. And that just means like you don't have to think about it. You just whip it out and take a photo of something that, I don't know, pops out to you or something that's meaningful to you. Obviously a photo of your food. Food porn's a big thing.
Yeah, it is.
Right? Yeah, and many people have different reasons for it. And I think early on I was a little judgmental about that.
As we all are.
Yeah, I'm like, just get down in there. Just get
in there.
Your food is dying.
Yeah, it's dying. It's getting
It's
cold.
Yeah, but at this point I'm like, no, that's just our behaviors in our culture.
Yeah.
We want to share that.
Yeah.
So part of that self-care is just getting out of my own way about bringing things with me that I feel. So sometimes if you see me on the street, if you happen to see me on the
Are
street,
you always on the streets, Tasi?
I'm out here on the streets.
Tasi is for the streets if y'all didn't know.
Yeah. I'm the most hermitous street guy. But, I will say, like, early in my 30s, I was always downtown walking around, wandering around, popping in and out of cafes and stuff, right? Like, that was my ideal kind of morning routine. I think we talked about this early, too, in a different episode where, like, if I didn't have to worry about money, what would I do?
You go to Portugal.
I would go to Portugal. I'd like wander into, exactly. See, you remember. So that's the thing. Like, obviously I still think about like, oh, how am I going to pay for certain things? But I try not to let that keep me from enjoying slivers of that life. Yeah. To get a little taste, to keep myself, I'll wake up tomorrow. So I have the will to continue doing stuff.
Yeah.
So that's one way of self-care. I think it's like hopping into a cafe, looking around, taking a nice, and just enjoying that.
Yeah, I love that we're talking about your camera that way. And it made me think of like that philosophy of like when people are practicing work with swords, they're like your sword should be an extension of you.
Yeah.
And I feel like you bringing your camera is just an extension of you, And it's a tool. And I never regret filming anything I do.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. I always try to treat every idea like it's my best idea. Give everything to it.
Nurture your idea.
Yeah.
Protect your idea.
There was this crazy idea somebody said, like, when you're on your deathbed, it's just you and your unsolved ideas. No, what is like the ideas that never unfulfilled ideas or something like that. The rich, or there's like a couple of those, like the richest man is the one that's dead or something like that, because like he died with the like idea that he never like did or something like
Whoa.
that. I forgot the wording. Excuse me.
It might come back to you.
Yeah.
End of this episode, you're like, I know what it is.
I got it. Yeah.
Smash cut.
Yeah. Yeah. Self-care, man. I think it's super important. It kind of ties into self-love, but self-care, at least for me, like I know the gym is a great place for me to express myself. And I also love, like, gives me time to like listen to music. I love music so much.
Okay. So would you say that that's part of that atomic habit thing, compounding, where like I'm gonna listen to a specific kind of music while I'm there, and they just tie in now?
Yeah. I also like, I'm so random at the gym. Like if I'm working out by myself, usually if I have a gym partner, me and C's don't listen to music. We just whatever's in the gym. And the gym we go to is relatively expensive, but it's worth it. The gym is never busy. The music's great in there. Like they had like a J. Cole mixtape playing the other day, and I was like, what is this place?
You know, my niece likes J. Cole. She's 13, and I had her DJ in the car, off tangent, during this family visit, and she had J. Cole on, someone named Brent Fayez or something. I
know Brent Fayez. He's super toxic, but keep going.
I didn't know that. And then like some 90s music.
Okay.
I was like,
I like your taste already.
Yeah, I know. I was like, oh, nice combination. Okay. Anyway, go on. So gym music.
The gym is great. It feels like I'm getting my money's worth because it's never busy. The music's great, and I have a good partner there. But when I'm by myself working out, I like to listen to random stuff. Like every now and then I'll work out to like musical theater or like
cool.
R&B, or like I'll just check on like what's popular and I'll like give it.
Are you going for mood or tempo, rhythm? What?
No, some people like need that like something. Yeah. Sometimes I'm on that, but most of the time I use that as a time to explore music.
Wow!
Like, I don't know. I'm like, what does this provoke in me? Like I already know my goal. Like I already know the workouts I'm doing, but like.
You're on autopilot almost.
Yeah, like everyone likes Little Uzi Vert. Let me hear his album. I'm like, I just like exploring what everyone's into. I think a big part of like music is giving everything a chance. Like I don't like to judge things before, people give bad theater or like movie reviews, but I'm like, I still want to see it. Yeah. If I was interested, I'm gonna see it, and then maybe I'll be like, yeah, y'all are right.
So forming your own opinion.
Yeah.
Wow. I would consider forming your own opinion as a form of self-care.
Of course.
Yeah. I didn't know this as a person growing up on the island, or I'm sure many people. Whenever I had opinions about stuff, I always tucked it away. I'm like, it's not that important.
Yeah.
And so I just, which, pros and cons. Pro, I think that really disciplined my sense of listening. Con, the ability to synthesize information and then share it, that speed takes me a lot longer. So that manifests in like reading books, listening to lectures, whatever. It just takes me a long time I have to sit there, think about it, and then I can kind of speak about it in a sense of confidence, I guess.
Yeah.
Whereas some people, like Sam, my partner, she can read something and immediately be able to like share useful information from that. And that's digestible, right? It's pros and cons of that, but also going back to our self-care and self-sabotage, right?
Yeah, you made me feel a lot of things going into like storing a lot of the information and like your own opinions, because part of my self-sabotage, I feel like...
we're moving self-sabotage time. Yeah,
you started it.
No, I like this. I
think a lot of times I won't share what's going on with me because I'm always like, oh, somebody's got it worse, and I won't treat where I'm at like it's valid. Like what I'm feeling, I'm like, but there's people in this world who don't have a leg, I'm like, what am I complaining about?
Yeah.
And I think I've come to a point where I allow myself to feel everything I'm feeling, maybe make some music about it, spend as long as I need, whether it's a day off to just like, feel it, be in the bed, sleep it off, watch movies, whatever I need to do, listen to some sad music. But then as soon as I feel like I've felt the entirety of it, I do something that makes me happy after that. I have to have a balance because like it's easy to stay there. It's easy to stay in your seductive, wonderful bed, forever and just,
wallow
wallow in it. But like I give myself maybe a couple hours, or maybe a day. A day is probably the max. I will try to let myself sulk in whatever I'm feeling, you know? And I have a bad habit of like not allowing people in when I don't feel at my best.
Mm-hmm.
But like my partner is like an advocate on like, I'm here for you.
Mm-hmm.
All the color palettes of you, you know,
Yeah,
I'm not asking you to be your best. I'm asking you to just be you.
Yeah, whatever that is today.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great, man.
Yeah.
I think that's an incredibly important tool for a person and an artist. You know, obviously this podcast is about like arts career or whatever, but part of that is like knowing yourself. And
Step one.
And sometimes that thing of where we get in our own way is that mentality that we can't let other people in because it's not as important, or they're going to judge me for any kind of way, or it doesn't matter because it's not part of the work. Right. So what, you know, you just want to acknowledge, thank you for sharing that, because that's huge, right? I'm still learning that too.
Yeah.
And that's part of being able to be a good communicator with you as a person and as an artist. Because I've had those moments too where sometimes I'll hold on to things and Sam can feel it. For those of you who are watching, listening, Sam's my girlfriend. And we have to acknowledge that we both process differently.
Yeah.
And so sometimes if it is, when that is brought up, I can then have the option to say, oh, this is the kind of thing that I actually just need space and time for. Yeah. Versus like, oh, you're right, let me let you in. Right. Because I think just you being there, not even trying to fix anything, right? Because I think that's a guy thing.
Yeah, we always want to fix stuff.
It's just a natural thing, right? And we can always fight that now. When you acknowledge it, then you can start develop tools to balance it. You don't have to completely change it, but know when to employ that sense of, oh, I'll help you fix it, right?
Yeah. There was something, acting teacher Casey Lee.
Shout out Casey Lee.
Shout out Casey Lee. You know Casey Lee?
I don't, but you know.
Shout out Casey Lee.
Shout out to Casey Lee.
He's an acting teacher. He always used to say, because I took his classes in the pandemic.
Yeah.
And he always used to say, the most vulnerable actor wins. And it's always stuck with me.
Amazing.
Because especially, I don't know if it's a man thing or just, you know, it's a human thing of like, we want to hide, you know, what we're going through. And that's, you know, it gives
cats do that too.
Do they?
Yeah. When they're sick, they tend to like exclude themselves. I don't know why necessarily, like they just don't ask for help in that way. Whereas dogs will come up to you and they're like, I gotta eat some grass because my stomach hurts. You know, yeah. So it's cats.
They'll show you all their like boogers or be like, I'm sick,
I'm
but
sick.
I still love you.
Yeah. Cats are, I was doing research on it. So they do that.
I didn't know that.
People do that too.
Yeah, people definitely do that. And I think it's so beautiful when people allow themselves to share, you know, their ugliness, you know, their messiness. And that's something like I don't do. And like, that's one of the self-sabotages that I do is like social media. You know, it's like our highlight reel. It's always good on social media.
It's always sunny and
you know, and Instagram.
Yeah.
But that's why I really enjoy TikTok, because I feel like people are so real on TikTok. Like they don't need the fancy setups to do stuff. They're just like, this is how I'm feeling today, and this is how I got through with it. You know, I'm like, hey, I appreciate you being real. You know.
Do you find that because TikTok has grown to, this is off tangent again, but
we'll get back.
Do you find that because it's grown to a place where it is, and that's your general sense of TikTok, that is sort of influencing the way Instagram is shifting?
100%.
That people are more willing to be vulnerable on Instagram?
Oh, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
Just the platform by itself, I think it's definitely has shifted all, like YouTube Shorts, now Reels and stuff like that. But I still think, like me personally, I use my Instagram as like a digital reel or a digital resume. Like I want people, when they look at my Instagram, to see, oh, this is what he does. Yeah. Not necessarily.
At a glance.
Not necessarily who I am.
Yeah.
But TikTok, I'll make videos with my mom. I'll talk about old dating tricks.
This is so fascinating.
I'll get really into depth. I don't know what that is about. Like, there's a disconnect with Instagram. I just feel like it feels more professional. It feels like more try hard, where TikTok is like, TikTok, I feel like I can just go in the bathroom and just be like, hey, I got a story for you.
And you have done that. Watch
exactly.
those.
And they've done what they've done, you know?
Yeah. So I'll offer a counter to that. Not counter in a conflictory way, but more like I guess I find TikTok as the place where I can be myself.
I love that.
And that I've shared goofy stuff on there. I think it's the I'll say this specifically after they introduced carousels. For those of you who are not versed in social media, carousel in the sense of Instagram is that you can post more than one picture. I think up to 10. So I treat that as this. I've seen it being used as like a photo dump. You might have seen that, right? Like, oh, here's my July trip or whatever, and that's fine. I try to the best of my ability when I can, when I post, what is the story in 3 that I could tell it, like, because 1, 2, 3, right?
Things.
Three things. So act 1, act 2, act 3. Oh. And if the photos aren't there because maybe I was in a moment, I didn't take anything, then I'll write about it, right? So I'm oddly enough even more vulnerable there.
I love that.
Than Facebook now. Wow. Okay, boomer. And TikTok, like, I was trying to use it for like gaming stuff. Yeah. Right. And that's where I saw like I could contribute. That's my value proposition area. Right. But obviously, like, if I'm not playing video games all the time, which I don't now. Yeah. Like, it's harder to keep that up.
Yeah, I find such a hard balance of like I'm gonna go deep into like relationship stuff, but I told my partner early on in our dating, I was like, does it bother you if I don't post you on my social media?
What a great boundary question.
And she was like, no. And I was like, I want you to know it's not that I want to hide you from anybody, because you're invited anywhere that I am. Mm-hmm. And people who I care about are going to know I'm with you. Yeah. And that's all that matters to me. Right. But it's a business I'm trying to run here. Yeah. And I don't think it's useful with all the trolls that exist online for people to find different ways to tear down women, start stuff, drama, or like, I just have a weird way of like not trying to invite people in my world that are not going to respect my world.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Self-care. It's a self-care that that I'm trying to practice. And I'm like, I started a separate account where I like gotta, post on our birthday and our anniversary and stuff. And it sucks that I haven't maintained that account because I do care for her and she knows that. And she jumps along with my skits. So there's ways I can like,
include
her, but
celebrate that part of your relationship.
Yeah. But there's a self-care aspect of like, social media is for that. And it's kind of like this artificial world where I'm presenting myself to the world, but like to my family, they all know you, and I think that's the most important thing. Social media is a whole different self-care, I'm trying my best right now to like get on a social media programming thing where I can upload everything for like a week and just get off my phone, because I'm addicted to social media. I know this about myself.
Well, you're in that part of the so we're gonna circle back, right, where you said it's part of your business. Yeah. How do many successful business entrepreneurs function on a daily? They are, and it doesn't have to be this way. However, there is something to be said about those who show up to their work ready to go and ready to explore different avenues to help the business grow. And if social media is part of your business, then I love that you have set up a sense of like boundary for your relationship within that. And I think that's super healthy. And also, like, I think it also offers your partner, for those of you, maybe this is a question for you, it offers your partner a place to ask about you that isn't personal, but does affect the relationship, right? Instead of, like, going after you directly, because then that could feel like a personal attack, right? Yeah. And depending on the day, the time, whatever, you could feel defensive about that. Or if it's coming at it from that sense of like, here's the middle ground, Switzerland, neutral territory.
Yeah, always.
It's about this, and this is affecting that. Then you can come to the table and offer something that's like, how can we shift that?
Totally.
This is still part of my business, but like, okay.
Yeah. Are you not feeling seen? You're not feeling loved, heard? Because like, I love love.
Yeah, I love love.
I love love.
Speaking of Bob Marley, one love.
One love. But like, what doesn't really do it for me is like the social media love. I'd rather get a call from my friend or a text from my friend, like they're thinking about me. I don't really care about, or see somebody in person, make time for them.
Mm-hmm.
I was taking this business marketing class.
Yeah.
And they were saying the same way, like they were giving me as a musician, because I was asking the question. I was like, my friends are not listening to my music. My family are not sharing stuff. And they're like, the same way somebody has like a pyramid scheme and they're like, I'm gonna get my friends and family.
That never
here.
works.
It never works. And it's like, also kind of how cringy is it that you have to get your friends and family to support you for you to be successful?
Yes.
So I'm like, in the same way, I think it's me, like, maybe this is bad, isolating myself in my social media world, being like, if my friends and family love what I do and support what I do, I appreciate y'all. And I hope you're part of like the target audience that likes what I do. But I really just have to find my people. Like there's 7 billion people out here.
Yeah.
And the odds of like 1,000 true fans finding me and like really liking my stuff, it's very doable.
Yeah.
And I know that's my work. So keeping my fam off my social media is like my goal. I don't want people to be like, oh, like try to target my family and stuff like that. And maybe that's also in my head from the work we do.
Yeah. It's very public.
Us being in prison was like probably not the best place for us to just share all our information.
I mean, I'll share a cautionary tale. Like I have a friend who's recently had to change their phone number because someone was impersonating their spouse.
What?
And had like the same number or something. It was some very strange, scary, and possibly dangerous scenario. So, and they're very public facing, right? Like their work. So I was like, yeah, that's kind of what you end up doing. And that's that self-care, self-sabotage, self-love. Like, how much do you involve? And why? Always ask yourself why.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, social media can be a whole entire episode series altogether.
It will be. Social media will be.
Yeah. So if you have any questions about that in regards to what we do and what you want to accomplish, send it over to us.
Please.
And that goes for every episode.
Please.
That
please
has popped up.
Can you think of any times in this industry you self-sabotage yourself?
Oh my God.
We're like, where do we start?
Yeah, where do we start and when do we end? Because I think I don't think it's that thing of it's not going to be the last one, right? Like I think you always have to be mindful of that. But to answer your question, I can't remember a specific time, but I have had times where I've been invited to something and I just thought to myself, it's too far. I don't, is that self-sabotage?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
You're not putting yourself in the place to make it happen. You're not finding a way to make it work. You're being like, I'm going to take the easy route.
Yeah, I've done that, and I'm guilty of it. I will say I don't regret doing it. So I don't know where that fits the bill. That's a whole other topic. Now that I think about it, I'm like, I did that, and I think I felt bad at the time because it felt like I wasn't fulfilling something. But enough time has gone since the last time I had done something in that vein where I don't feel regretful of doing it.
Yeah.
Because maybe it's because I don't know what I missed out on.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you, but I don't suffer from FUBU. Wait, FUBU?
FOMO.
Not for us, by us, the 90s brand by P. Diddy, is it? I don't know.
Cool J.
Yeah, that's right. FUBU. Wow, that dates me.
I love you. We start getting deep and you just mess up. I love you.
I don't suffer FOMO. Or if I do, it's very short-lived.
Yeah.
For those of you out there who don't know what FOMO is as an acronym, it's the fear of missing out.
Yes.
So social media exacerbates that a lot because, as we said, you share the things that you want people to see, right? And so I think a lot of people have to confront their FOMO. Now, if someone were to come up to me and say, "Oh man, I went to this barbecue at so and so's house. Did you get the invite?" I might feel like, no. even if I didn't see it online, right? And maybe that dates me. I don't know. But generally, I don't fear, or I don't have that FUBU.
I don't have the FUBU.
I don't have the FUBU. Sorry, I don't have a more exact self-sabotage.
That's fine, because there's examples like that, like where I just don't audition for things because I'm just like looking at the breakdown and I'm like, they're never gonna pick me. They want a deep voice, like voiceover, you know?
Oh, that is great. Yeah, go on, speak on that.
Yeah, but I always have to remind myself, like, you always should shoot your shot. Even if you don't feel like you're in the best case, like, I'll give you another example. There was an audition for a Broadway musical that my manager sent me, and they were looking for a Cuban 22-year-old person who could sing and drum. And I was like, huh. I was like, and speak Spanish. And I was like,
say no more. Duolingo, baby.
Yeah, but I was like, I can't do this. And I was like shooting myself down the whole time. And I was like, there's no point of even auditioning. And then my agent manager was like, you should still audition though. And I was like, cause she kept on like being like, are you gonna audition? Are you audition? As it was getting closer, and I was like, I don't know. I'm gonna try maybe. And she was like, that's not a for sure answer. And I was like beating myself up the whole time. And my girlfriend was like, what do you have to do? Speak Spanish? I got you. Come on, we're doing it. We're doing it. And she kept on pushing me. And I'm glad I got pushed to do it, because I was just telling myself from the very beginning, they're not going to pick me.
Oh, wow.
Which they didn't.
Yeah.
But, you know, at the same time, I'm glad I pushed through and at least tried my best.
Yeah.
Because there's been like a crazy thing in my head about musicals. So I've never gotten a lead in a musical, and I've been embarrassed at musical theater auditions because, like, if you guys ever go, especially in the professional level, there are incredible dancers there. The dance call is always what separates me.
Yeah.
And I've never had the endurance, or at least put myself in the position of endurance to like sing that many nights back to back to back.
Yeah.
Talking
It's
already.
demanding.
Sometimes talking already, I get like a sore voice. Like I'm like, oh, I can't talk when I go out after this, you know?
Vocal rest for those of you out there.
Yeah, vocal rest, we'd call it. Because when Hamilton was around,
You mean Lin-Manuel's Hamilton?
Yes, that Hamilton.
That
is what
Hamilton?
I'm talking about
Yeah.
with Davied Diggs and that. When that finally came out and they were looking for a Broadway touring cast,
Right.
it was huge. And I was like, oh, I'm going to audition. This is my shot, acting, rapping. That's what I do.
Yeah.
And I remember going to the first like big open call
San Francisco?
in San Francisco, and I did my audition. I sang Benny's Dispatch, and I got the call back. And I was like, oh, I got a call back already? I'm like,
for callback.
already cut people in half. I'm like, I'm in that half.
Yeah.
Then they gave me a song to sing, Dear Theodosia. And I was like, oh, singing? And I was like, so I was just like,
That song always makes me cry.
oh, it's a good song.
It's a good song. Yeah.
Beautiful song. And
Father-daughter song.
Yeah. And I was like, I was practicing all week on this. And then when I went in there, I saw a music director that I worked with before who was playing the piano. And I was like, yes. And then I was like, I don't want to disappoint you. Okay. Already. And then I do my thing. I tell a story with it as well, like while I'm doing my thing. And I get a text from her immediately after. She's like, you did amazing. And I was like, she doesn't just do that, you know? And I'm like, the closer I was getting, because I got another call back after that, the closer I was getting, the more like, I was like, this could happen.
You're getting to that, is Davied available?
Exactly.
moment.
I'm like, this could actually happen, you know?
Yeah,
and then after that, I had a dance call back, and I just knew I wasn't going to get it from there, because they gave you a quick, like 5 minutes to show you the routine. And they're like, all right, y'all ready? And I'm like, no. Like, it was so quick. And that's the level that they want you at, that I was like, I didn't get it after that. But that's one of the times where I really realized, like, dreaming is really vulnerable. And like musical theater has always
Say it again.
Dreaming is vulnerable.
Yeah.
Because you're putting yourself out there, you're putting your hopes, ambitions,
Dreaming and doing.
And I'm like, from that, I'm just like, I'm not musical theater like ready. So anytime I get offered a musical, I like self-sabotage.
Wait, I'm gonna have you repeat that. You're not what?
I'm not musical theater ready.
Okay. You lost the ready part.
What'd I say?
'Cause you said ready, but it was so quiet.
Ready.
Because that I want the audiences, I want you out there watching, listening to know that, like, it's okay to acknowledge you're not ready yet.
Yeah.
And that gives you you're in such a good position to get better when you can acknowledge, I'm not there yet.
Yeah.
I'm not ready yet. Because then where do you go from there? You find ways to be ready.
Yeah, I'm out of practice. I just want to take more singing lessons and like train. And like I think a lot of people look at me and they're like, "But you rap," and I'm like, they're completely different. That's like saying, I don't know. I can't think of a comparison.
That's okay.
But like,
but it's an unfair assumption.
Yeah.
To say like in this situation, to be like, oh, Dav, yeah, he raps. He should be in that because that's so much pressure and so much like that puts a lot of weight on your shoulders. Because you leave there and if you don't get it, then you're like, wait, am I not as good? Because that's not the case.
It's not the case.
It's just that other people have honed other parts that they might want or need, right? So this is going back to the sense of like self-care, self-sabotage, self-love, in that you got to give yourself that permission to accept it, but also allow yourself to be cognizant of your peers. Yeah. And so be careful what you say to them. Yeah. Like, oh, you deserve that. Like, yeah, but you're not in that room and you're not the one making the decisions. Yeah. I deserve it. Well, why don't you be the director and cast me in that? Yeah. Right. So that's that thing.
Wow. That's also a great way of like people to support the artists around you. Like, how did you feel about that? Like, what do you need help? Like to run lines? Like, oh, I know some people who do singing lessons, and I would never take that as like disrespect. If somebody's like, you want to get better at that, like, I found some resources for you. Yeah. Because sometimes I self-sabotage myself by not finding a singing coach. Because like I know that's something I want to do, and I'm like, but that means I'm gonna get better, and that means I'm gonna have to put myself out there like over here again.
Well, here, let's pivot for a hot second because I was part of this sort of history, right? Okay. Oh, I didn't want to get a vocal coach, whatever. So a few months ago, or no, I don't want to give dates because we're not entirely sure when you might be hearing this, dear listeners, watchers. Yeah. But at some point, Dav and I had an audition for something similar. What? Different roles, yeah. And coincidentally, you and I both reached out to 2 different dialect coaches.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not something that I typically do for an audition. For a callback, maybe I would have to start considering it, but this is the first time ever. And I was like, oh, sure. And, I also then had to balance of like, if I don't get it, it's okay. Like, that I spent time working on it so hard.
Spent money.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's that thing like, good for you for doing that, right? Because I don't think that would have come naturally. That was your attempt to not self-sabotage.
Exactly. Right? Give myself the best opportunity.
Yes, yeah. Because I could totally imagine it, a situation where like they ask for a dialect. Because, for those of you who are out there and they're looking to audition, they don't always ask for our dialects. Let's just say this. If the play in your mind feels like it's a British play or some play that has dialect, unless they ask you specifically, then you shouldn't feel that pressure of like, I got to show up and do a dialect.
Exactly.
Now, would it be helpful to ask ahead of time? Do you prefer a dialect? That's good. That's on you, right?
Yes.
But unless you're specifically asked in professional environments, then you should assume that just go and prepared with your ideas of the character, whatever that looks like.
Yes.
So for the fact that you and I went out of our way to get ourselves a dialect coach, to spend time with that then eliminated that self-sabotage of like, oh, they need this dialect. I'm not going to show up. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I don't know. Did you feel that way?
I did feel that way because there's been a bunch of times voiceover auditions when they're like, I want a Cajun accent. I'm like, what the French? I was like, I want a Nigerian accent. And I was like, I'm not going to pretend to be Nigerian in this. Right. I'm like, man, I'm not the guy for it. Sure. Like you keep eliminating yourself. But then sometimes there was like, I think there was like a French character and I was like, YouTube French accents. I'll just like watch a bunch of French clips and I'll be like, why not put myself out there?
Give it a shot.
You never know. They might be like, we'll provide you with this after, we like your voice. We like what you're doing. Yeah. Now it's on us to make you what we wanted, you know? Because there's so many people willing to help you. And that's why I like asking for help. And I'm glad we did the dialect because like that was fun. Yeah. Super fun and insightful and learning, as our tools grow.
Yeah, and I'm taking the time now to say that out loud because I think that's one great example of how we overcame self-sabotage.
And speaking about overcoming stuff,
Yeah.
I know something that you and I have, like, I don't want to say pet peeves because I think we've all been here at one point. But like, if you're somebody who needs this self-love and you're wanting to be in the industry or whatever part you are, and you say like, oh, I hate seeing myself on camera, or like, I hate my voice. That is a point of self-love you need to push for as much as you can, because no one's gonna love you if you don't love yourself.
Oh my God.
And you gotta get used to your instruments or what you have.
I'm giving myself a hug right now.
Self-hug, because if you don't like yourself, who else is gonna like you? I'm just like, I don't understand it in the way of like, well, what else is there to do? Then don't do this. If you don't like, like, I'm not the biggest fan of my voice. It's taken a while for me to be like, you know what? Hey, there's points of it where I do like, I can be kind of cool sometimes. Like this. You have to find it. It takes exploring. It takes like, if you don't like the way you look, you can change that. And anything I think worth working for, you're gonna feel it, and you're gonna start loving parts about yourself.
If it's worth working for, it's worth working on.
Oh, I like that. That was way better than what I said.
No, but listen,
you knew what I was going for.
We're a team. Here, high five.
Yeah. I hope the mic picked that up. Yeah.
I'm sure it did. But to your point, man, that is exactly what I've heard a lot. I hate the sound of my voice. I'm like, that's what you're born with.
Yeah.
You can train it.
Yeah.
But you also need to know where you're starting. So to know where you're starting, you got to listen to it.
Man, if you guys would hear my first mixtape.
Is it available anywhere?
I have it. I'll just say that. If you guys heard that and like my vocal quality compared to where it is now.
When's volume 2 where you re-record it? Retrospective.
I'm never going to re-record that. Never.
The content is
I might release that one day just so people can laugh and like repost being like, "Oh, look at how you started." But like, I think it's also cool to show where people started.
100%. You got to know.
I think to show that once you get to like that level, like, Tasi was once human,
Once human? I have ascended into godhood.
Well, when you get to like celebrity or wherever people put you on that pedestal, they're like,
that's out of your hands.
Exactly. Where they put you up there and be like, well, you have all this equipment, and be like, but look where it started on my camera.
I literally have photos. When you're talking about like equipment specifically, I literally have photos of like, those old mics or using the microphone on an old MacBook to like record video game commentary. Yeah. Whenever, if you're watching this, you could see the two different Shure SM7B mics, standard,
standard.
I was going to say factory standard, but that's not it. Industry standard for podcasting. It took a long time. Yeah. And it took every ounce of self-love to say I'm worth investing in that. And that's the value I want to bring to the work that I do. That we do.
Man, self-love.
Yeah.
I think my favorite kind of self-love is just showing up for myself, giving myself permission, and like making the time for my art.
I'm going to ask you a question. I love that. I think what is a prompt you would use for yourself to give yourself permission?
What is a prompt I'd give myself to give myself permission?
Yeah. Or how would you what's an example of a way that you would give yourself permission? Let's say you're starting your day and you have all these tasks that you need to accomplish. And then at the end of, at some point in the day, you want to do something for yourself. What's the permission asked there for yourself?
This might sound very dark, but sometimes I like to go to the point, like, if I only had 3 days to live, where do my priorities lie? And like, what do I want to do?
You find that shifts a lot of what you're going to do today kind of thing?
Yeah, because I'm like, do I have to trip about my taxes? You should all do your taxes. But I would probably be like, I want to write a song about this thing, or I wanted to read this book, or I wanted to watch this movie, and I've just been prolonging this because of intangible life stuff that happens. So I'd probably shift it that way. And I think death, at least to me, always shifts that, you know, being like, yeah, we don't really have too long on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
And you always hear like people in their like later years talk about like, oh, I wish I would have been riskier,
Regrets.
or I wish I would have made more time for people. I wish I would have done that one thing. And like, or like, I don't know why we let these things slip. Like our ambitions slip out of our hands because of we're stressed about something that's not going to matter in a couple years or tomorrow. You know?
So your sense of permission comes from raising the stakes.
Yeah.
Which death is the highest stake
you know?
that you can raise it anything to in our human lives, I would say.
And in artistic scenes, you know, that's always when I like need to get like, what is this scene about? I'm like, all right,
raise the stakes.
This is the last time I'll ever see this girl. Okay, I gotta do something, you know?
Yeah, no, I love that. For those of you who are aspiring artists, I think not just in acting, but I think in other forms of art, you can always ask. There's always room to ask, what are the stakes, and how do I raise those stakes, right? So I think death and love are like the highest stakes in a performance, because those are so strong motivations in human behavior. How can I love more?
I had an acting teacher say like, if I turn on a show, why should I care about these characters immediately from this one scene? Why should I care about this scene? And it's like, if I don't get to the fact that like this person's in love with this person or like this person's scared of this immediately, he's like, I don't like watching it.
Yeah.
I'm like, ooh.
Maybe that's a great reason why like stories like Romeo and Juliet persist and endure, because really when you strip it down, it's two people that want, we're not even going to talk about like their age differences in the script, but at the end of the day, it's two people that want to just celebrate their love.
Yeah.
But the fear of death, because their families are at war, raises the stakes.
Yeah.
Right. And you can apply that to a lot of things in storytelling.
Totally.
A good story will you could feel the stakes, and your responsibility is find ways to raise it. Always
raise the stakes.
Speaking of steaks, I just had my birthday recently.
You had a tomahawk?
And I had a tomahawk steak. I think that's a great way to wrap today.
Yeah. We can go in forever about self-love, self-care, self-sabotage. But
we might come back.
We might come back to it.
It's worth exploring.
Totally.
Yeah, maybe we'll bring on some guests and talk about that too.
I'd love to. But this is a reminder for you to take care of yourself, make time for yourself. Most importantly, make time for your art. I'm Davied Morales, or Active Poet.
And I'm Tasi Alabastro at Tasi Alabastro.
And this has been another episode of Art Time Job. Thank y'all for tuning in.
Bye.